Pod's doing really well. We're actually growing and getting new guys in all the time. I'm actually probably gonna have to start another casual multiplayer crew because Dub's kind of starting to get a little full. Modern Warfare
What is
4.
the new time?
I think it comes out October. Uh, I know the beta starts, I think, in August. Um, Honestly, from talks around the family, it's everybody's a little wishy-washy because of the turn that COD has taken lately, but I'm excited for it. Oh, the Modern Warfare series has always been my favorite Call of Duty series, so I'm really excited for it.
We're fine. Everything's fine. How are you? We're opening several new crews. We've got new games starting up. Lots of big things. Yeah. We've welcomed in quite a few new people. It's been going well. We've been getting recruits in steadily. Yeah. hmm hmm
Um, just working out with some of the, I guess you could call them leadership prospects in the Destiny crews. Um, and we're looking at trying to expand Destiny into a little bit more because by far the Destiny crew is probably our biggest crew in Frontier. So we're going to try to split that up, get other people some raid time and everything, and we can go from there.
Yeah, status quo right now. Not gaining, not losing. We've got one crew that needs to step up their activity. Still got Locke and Godzilla over there. Street Boss are doing good things. I stepped away for a couple weeks here because we blame Canada for everything. We do love to blame Canada. Um, no, I'm kidding. Nothing against our Canadian peoples, but I had a real world mission I had to uh, attend to, and for that 2 weeks, they've kept the lights on, kept things running. There's even a new blueprints giveaway that Godzilla is doing right now. It seems to be pretty popular. Seems to be doing very well. So we're excited about that. Um, got a couple new additions, a couple new names that I see on the roster. I'm excited to get to know some of them. But yeah, status quo at Arc, not gaining, not losing. When I just got back last night very late, and I've had a very busy day today. But tomorrow I got the get the new computer hooked up, and we'll get back after it and keep building. I expect them to be a family soon. Uh, so of a down right now because they're only releasing big updates every 6 months as opposed to every three like they were doing. But the updates that they are releasing every 6 months are massive in size. Big changes, new arc, new maps, new trials. There's a lot, right? And we still get those little mini updates that are keeping the game interesting as well too. So Locke should be coming in here. We can pick his brain about it a little bit more, but I don't want to take up too much time talking about Arc Raiders.
So recently we added a new Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, person. Only as a frag. He's been doing a great job over there. And then Io has stepped up to her TikTok and she's looking for some assistance from the crew leaders to make sure if you are a crew leader that you check out that message and help support our TikTok. We do have a few events already scheduled for August. We're going to start things strong. August 9th, we'll have a game night with the council. So myself, Xylo, Hobo, and Vet will be streaming a game at 6 p.m. Eastern. These will all be events here very soon. I got to create images and such for it, but they'll be listed there. And then August 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern, Vet is going to start up the Change My Mind stream, where you guys can argue and tell Vet why he is wrong. Because that's the only thing that's ever right is that Vet is wrong. And then we will have another one of these community meetings on the 30th at 7 p.m. It will typically, we're going to do the last Sunday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern for those events. So you can come and learn what's going on in the community. We will also have some initiation nights going on in August. I don't have those exact dates yet. So if you are an associate and you've been active for at least 30 days, you would be potentially eligible for that. It just depends on your attendance and the feedback of your leadership. But I'll be announcing those, and you can reach out to me to see if you're eligible or not. And then we will also be sending out a survey. I'm hoping within the next week to get that out to everybody, just to kind of do like a pulse check on how your crews are going, what we can do better within each crew, and it's going really well. Just to kind of see how things are going and how we can make OG better.
I will say that I do have a few awards that we're working out some of the details, the write-ups for. So I do plan on handing out a couple awards to individuals. So be prepared for that. And then I'm actually working with Xylo on a couple like creator awards for some events localized to some specific games. But we can also work with him, or I'll work with him to find if we can find any like generic ones that could be applied for an overarching feel and not just a specific game title award feel.
I'll also say that there will be some solicitation for, I don't know how familiar everyone here is with all of the awards that we have. One of the ones that is relatively easy to target is the Huckleberry Award. And we're going to be looking to try to solicit that for this month as well. So expect, some people asking about that to see who you might recommend for that award. And if you aren't aware of where the awards are, you can go up into the server guide in Discord, and there's a little section there that lists most of the awards that we have, or you can go to the website and there's a section there. But I'd encourage everybody to go and read about those and see if there's any that you might be interested in recommending to the leadership team to get out to people. We certainly want to accommodate as many people within the community as we can for the things that you guys are doing.
I have one actually. He's not even here, which kind of sucks. There is someone who has kind of in the creation of a new D&D crew that I have made has helped with running Kimura, and I kind of wanted to commemorate him for that, but he didn't even come today. Edward, Sussy Nuts.
Yeah. Mhm. Do I want to start us off with what? Um, sure. Right. So the subject was brought forward that some crews might benefit from having a more dynamic scheduling setup as opposed to just the static setup that we currently have, in which currently we set things up as a crew has to have a set day, either a set day a week, every other week, once a month, etc., that they put in the system as those are the days that they always meet on at a certain day, a certain time. The idea would be that some crews don't always have that exact benefit of saying, we are always going to be free at this specific time on this specific day. And yet those crews still want to be able to meet up to play and have different days, different times that they'd be able to meet up and play on that they'd discuss ahead of time to set for themselves. It was proposed that we give them the ability to essentially do just that, rather than saying that you have to be there on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. You would have the ability to set the specific time and day yourselves as a crew and then meet up, still ideally once a week, to be able to do, play your games and do that, but no longer having to be set to a hard schedule of saying we're always going to be available at this exact time on this exact day, making it a little more free for the crew to, plan out the rest of their lives and their week with each other, as opposed to saying specifically that they're going to be there in that more rigid form. The benefits to this being obviously that you don't have to meet on the same time, same day every week or every other week, every month, etc. Reason being, we do ask that those attendances be put in, and then if they can't be put in, those are attendances that then an entire crew ends up missing, having to be marked excused for, because that's a set time that they play. We do now have the cancel session button, which helps, but that was something that came about before this cancel session button was introduced. And so this was something that was talked about before the option was there for us to cancel a session, and it was another way that we had to try and make sure that people weren't being marked as excused or unexcused for different sessions when it was known ahead of time that no one was going to be able to make it there to play. I'm sure that there's probably other aspects that I'm missing, but that is the essential gist of the argument. I am open to questions about it. Yes.
I'll comment against. I just don't think. I mean, we've made this made this organization extremely relaxed, and I mean, coming up with a very minimum schedule. Like, and we've even kind of like, um, we've kind of met in the middle and said like, hey, once a month, once every two. I mean, we floated those ideas out there, and it's like, if we can't commit to one, I guess the question is like, how do you recruit for that crew? And I realize that every crew doesn't want to, build or grow into a family or anything like that, but it kind of it becomes confusing because if I open up My Little Pony game and I'm like, hey, we don't have a schedule, we just kind of play when we can play, and I get a new recruit in, I mean, that's going to be like the very first thing. It's one of the first things that they ask in onboarding. So when do you guys play? Um, and some of the family leadership is going to have to say, well, they just, yeah, I mean, they just play, right? It just makes us look really bad. It makes us look disorganized, and we do advertise that we're an organized organization, right? We have some semblance of a structure. Um, just the very minimum, right? We're just asking for the very minimum, and it's a very relaxed, very minimum. Even if I can just say, yeah, well, they meet up once a month. That's really not that bad. But you can LFG whenever you want. Putting somebody in a crew that, I mean, you'd never be able to tell the crew they have bad attendance or good attendance because there's nothing to compare it to. There's no measuring stick. And I want to prevent as much chaos as we can, but I also want to be as relaxed as we can. So I understand the people who want something that relaxed. And, I'm, I'd love to have a discussion with them and hear their thoughts on it. I know that they're a close knit crew, so they kind of talk with each other and organize when they can. But if we can't come up with the very basic bare minimum, why not just LFG?
Thank you for that question. I will take that question from you. How do you recruit for that crew? The same way we recruit for every other crew right now, as we are doing initially. No crew is going to be a perfect fit for any and every individual. As someone who does onboardings, we even now today, which Ghost, Kryptonian, Xylo, I'm sure Enigma could attest, we don't always have a crew that works out even when people come in and we have scheduled crews. Sometimes our crews play at times like 1 p.m, where it just isn't feasible for that person to be able to join that crew, even though that's the game that they would like to play. Or sometimes we have a crew that they play at a perfect time for them, but they're not taking anybody on right now. And so, just like in those situations, that's something that's a discussion that has to happen in that moment. Not every crew is going to fit. And so, in this situation, a crew that has dynamic scheduling would not always fit for every person. But if that is something that that person is willing to take on and is willing to try out, just like every crew, no one's guaranteed a spot on a crew when you first join in. The idea is we approach the crew leaders and try to see if they are willing to take the person on as a trial basis. And then hopefully that all works out. If that person joins the crew and finds out that it does work out for them, that's great. If they find out it doesn't, that's also fine. And we will work to find another place for them to step up and join a crew, possibly start a new crew. We have an easy, mostly streamlined process for doing that as well. So I don't see a problem with recruiting for a crew like that any more so than recruiting for a crew that plays a niche game or plays at a niche time. I understand that that can be something that looks a little scary when it's a change, but it being a change to what we're doing, I don't think necessarily means that it's something we shouldn't offer just because it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get on the value to doing it, and I honestly think you lose more than you gain there.
If the community said that they want it, and again, for me, I think that the cancel session thing solved a lot of the problems, and I have to be careful about expressing it because I speak for a lot of the family staff, so I don't want to. It's not my job here to convince the community one way or the other. If they wanted it, it's something that we should be prepared to try to figure out how to make it work. I think, and that's not me advocating or standing against the idea. I'm just saying that uh, if we can't think of an idea of a use for it, but the community can, should we just say that we're not going to do it because we haven't done it before? I think we should have an open mind. Is all I'm saying. So.
I will say,
Fun.
go ahead, Mystic.
No, you go ahead. You haven't spoken yet. I've spoken. Go ahead.
Okay. I will say from the community team side of it, with trying to do initiations, the crews that currently meet like once a month officially, but then technically meet other times, but then if attendance wasn't put in or whatever, like those crews have already caused enough confusions with our members to try and determine whether or not they are eligible for um being initiated. Because if the random pickup times that some crews are doing, if attendance isn't being put in, I have no way of knowing that they attended those. And so I think having that structure and having those reminders of attendance to be put in is critical if for our members who want to be initiated, so that they actually get the credits, so that we know that they're active, so we know what they're doing. Um, Without that, it's caused, even just for the once a month cruise, it's caused a lot of confusion for the ones that do play once a month, but then have others outside of that and don't record the attendance necessarily. So I think this opens a whole nother can of worms of struggles with getting people initiated, understanding why they're not eligible if, the crew met, but attendance wasn't put in and all of that.
I didn't realize other people had monthly crews. I thought that Frontier was the only one.
It is Frontier that has the monthly cruise, but those people are trying to be initiated.
So specifically Talon. Because I'm pretty sure everyone in BG3 OG is already initiated.
That would be correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm not losing people. I understand that can make more work. As I said when I first initiated it, I understand that it could make more work for us in Frontier leadership because I didn't expect anyone else to. I don't expect Battlefield or Call of Duty or eventually ARC to adopt this scheduling format as something that they exactly promote or push. Again, this was something that is a little bit niche, I suppose, for specifically Frontier, because we do have crews, unlike the other games, we have crews who play multiple different games. They have different play styles. And so it is a little more wild and loose over in Frontier. But I don't think that it would create so much more of a headache, especially, it does absolutely require that the crew staff has to be understanding that they need to put in the attendance in order to make sure that they are put in. That is something that crew staff has to be trained on. That's something that we, myself, Kryptonian, Nixon, have to make sure that we are drilling into crew staff's heads that if you do go this route, if this was something you were going to do, you've got to make sure that you are, in fact, making that effort to put in those attendance to make sure that each and every time you're getting those session points in for those people, because it's also being used for another purpose. Yes. Just like I know that with Talon being a monthly crew, if someone's only playing once a month, then it can be a long process before they have enough sessions under their belt to be initiated as well. My understanding with Talon is that they are not just playing once a month, but that they are using it as what was offered, which was the alternative to where they have one day a month that they are supposed to play for sure, and they still use the other days in the month to schedule sessions if they are able to make those. So I don't know that that's necessarily not working out for them. I haven't heard anything from anyone in the crew so far that it's a hindrance to them. The major difference between a monthly crew and what's being proposed would be, instead of having a day where you are putting it in to say you are still supposed to show up to this day, regardless of whether or not you planned it ahead of time, the dynamic crew would be able to plan out their sessions on their own, put them in as they have them, and not be beholden to a set schedule of one day out of a week or even one day out of a month where we expect them to show up and put in an attendance even if nobody is able to attend for that day. And also, I do want to reiterate, because I know this was a question that was brought up previously, at no point is this something that we're trying to say every crew member or every crew out there should be doing. This is purely an optional thing for crews that think that they would benefit from it if they would like to attempt it. It is not something that we would want to push onto people or that we would even necessarily suggest for people, unless if it was something that they showed that they had a purpose for using it. If they showed that they weren't able to consistently show up to the same days, same times every week, that would be something as an option that they could use in the stead of just going down to a once a month crew where they only have to play one day out of a month type of thing. It's not something that we're trying to push on people. It's not something we're trying to mass convert crews into. It's just another option to get people together and playing, which is what we're all here to do at the end of the day. Mm. Mhm.
I would argue that my name being on a roster for that crew would make me feel more obligated to play in certain situations. So, like, even if it wasn't a set day, I would know, hey, I am a part of this group. They rely on me to play. Like, we have committed to playing at least at some point within the month, not waiting 3 months to play that game. So I will push back on that a little bit.
I will also say that for the crew members, like if I mean, if as a person who would be in the proposed crew, you don't see the benefit, there it is. You don't do that kind of crew. As a leadership representative, as someone who is putting a thought forward to the actual aspect of, we want to know that the people that we have here are playing together, that they are meeting up, that we are having engagement, not just people coming in, filling out numbers, and being ghosts in seats that aren't actually engaging with the community, aren't playing. That is a crew that even if they meet once a month, even if they meet, sporadically, to get the attendance for that crew as the few times a month that they do play, that is a physical representation showing here is active engagement between people in a crew that's happening, showing that we are actually connecting people together to play, as opposed to putting people's name on a roster and then they end up just getting thrown into the wind after a while because no one is continuing to show up, etc. I was wondering what happened to Ghost. Ghost Wi-Fi just dropped. It looks like.
I actually have
So-
a question about it because, let's say, for example, you were part of a crew that it all depended on one person to make sure that they could be up and running because, for the most part, they were the ones that were running the core game session because the game is stored locally on their PC and not in the cloud. And yes, you can move files around. I 100% get that. But I guess it all leads down to how much weight do you place on the excused excused status for a crew as a way for, activity? Because I will say that there's been moments where I was a part of the BG3 crew where we didn't play for 3 months because life things have happened, and being able to be in a dynamic crew would have allowed us to be not set to always have to play because life again forces us not to be. And so we would have actually benefited greatly from having a dynamic schedule because it wouldn't have affected us as a unexcused or activity status. Like we were still trying to play, but like some people were getting married or some people were getting divorced or some people were having job issues or some people were being stressed at work. Like there's a bunch of life things that actually prevent people from getting, to be able to play with a crew at a specific date and time, which would have affected us greatly in the BG3 crew. Like,
There was a question in chat, Hobo, from Gaming Chef. Would it be something as simple as make all their sessions set up as optional for talent, specifically in this case? This would give them the ability to schedule their sessions openly without worry. I personally don't believe that you could say that their sessions are optional when they don't have any sessions scheduled, is where I don't think that I would say that they're optional. I don't know how the rest of the people up here feel.
Essentially, from how we work sessions, that is exactly what it would be treated as. You would not have a scheduled session, and so by technicality, all of your sessions would then become optional sessions because you would have to set them per day as you play, which is the same as a monthly crew that plays between their 1 day a month that they play. Any sessions that they have are optional sessions between those 2 days, but this would just take away that bookend of the required day on either end, meaning instead of having a mandatory day and then 27 days of possible optionals, you have all of the days as what we would consider optional because we don't have another word for it. That is how it would work theoretically. Yes, you would consider all of the sessions as optional sessions, air quotes, because that is the terminology we use for what that is.
So to what Hobo was saying about how you can't sit around and not play for 3 months, what is your minimum requirement in this situation? Like, do they have to play once a month? Do they have to play once a week? Like, what is your proposal for like that standard?
Well, and
Right.
this is where, as we discussed last time, this is that aspect of us as family staff having to take on that additional little role of saying, we're going to actually make sure that we're talking with the crew staff in this crew, that we're keeping tabs on them to make sure that we are watching. Have they put in a session in the last week? Yes, no. If no, okay, they haven't put in a session for over a week. We reach out to them. Everything going okay? We noticed that you haven't put in a session for over a week. You guys just having to take an extra long time, or is something happening? That is an extra step that we would have to take, and that I am willing to take as the Dawn of Frontier in that essence. I would not ask anyone under me to have to take on that extra activity, but I am willing to reach out to those people to say, hey, you have asked for this thing. We need to make sure that we are still trying to play within some time frame. Are you guys still playing? Is it just one of those weeks where it's a really bad week and no one was able to meet up? What's going on? Because that's a communication level that we have to keep open at that point to make sure that that is still being an active crew if they are not showing as an active crew. Because also it could just be something as simple as they did play, they just didn't put in a practice in the attendance, in which case have to reiterate, because sometimes you do have to reiterate to people. Sometimes people have to be told multiple times. We all know that. You have to put in those attendances, or else people aren't going to get credit for it. And you're going to keep getting a message from me saying, hey, you haven't played in a week. What's going on?
Similar to what was said before with the cancel session thing, like essentially couldn't a crew just set themselves as once a month and then just use the cancel session to essentially do what you're trying to accomplish?
I will say that, yes, this is something that was thought up before the cancel session discussion had really occurred. We had asked for an option to cancel sessions, and it had not yet been worked out exactly. And so with a cancel session option available now, that does help with this. And that does mean that if a crew wanted to instead say, we're going to go down to once a month and we're going to work on playing more frequently, then that's an option that they have right now. But my reasoning for wanting something other than that was, I am also one of those people who stands by that point of, if you only have to play once a month, then you're not as likely to push to play more often. So if I only have to see one time a month that Talon has an entry into their attendance, they are meeting their requirements by all technicality. But if I know that they are not a once a month crew, that they're a dynamic crew, if I see that they haven't put in an attendance for over a week, I'm reaching out to them saying, hey, what's going on?
Mhm.
But if I know that they only have to put in an attendance once a month and that they have an attendance put in, then they're working as intended. I don't need to reach out to them at that point. Mhm. Mhm. And the original intention was for sessions and crews that were still wanting to play every week and meet up. They just didn't have the commitment ability to say, I'm always going to be available on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Sometimes they'd have to be available on Tuesdays. Sometimes they'd have to wait until Friday. And so it was supposed to be there as an option to say, hey, we didn't have the ability to cancel a session at that time. So, hey, we don't have the ability to cancel your session. You're still supposed to be there, but you can always put in an optional. We do have more flexibility than what we had before, which is helpful. But this was just another level of flexibility to offer to people if it was something they felt that they could use.
So, I have one more question, and then I'll step off the floor. What functionality does this provide now compared to like the scenario that we just laid out? Like knowing that we now have the ability to cancel sessions. Like if we were to officially adopt this initiative, like what more would it provide, or are we accomplishing the goals that we're looking to accomplish with what we have now?
What more would it provide than saying, like having a monthly crew that is able to cancel that session that they put in and just have random practices as they choose to.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you're just giving them a title at this point, right? Like, unless I'm misunderstanding that there's more that this is doing, other than just allowing them the opportunity to have flexibility. Like, if they cancel the one monthly practice that they have scheduled, but they play 3 other times out of the month, like, it is essentially the same thing, correct?
It is very much a semantics issue.
Mhm.
A dynamic crew is if we have that discussion and you say we're going to play every week, we just don't have a specific day. I'm still expecting one report from you a week saying that you did show up to practices and played. And if I'm not getting that, I'm checking in with you. If you say we're going to go down to once a month and we'll play more often as we can, I'm not going to approach you if you're not playing every week. I'm not going to try to push for you to play every week if you still can. And so it's giving that ability to say, well, we've already said we only have to play once a month, so we're only going to play once a month, which is entirely, up to the crew to make the decision of. This is more of an onus on if you are committing that you still want to play once a week, and then we give you the option to do that. We just don't make you specifically state a day and time to do so. If you end up then not playing once a week still, that's when we have a conversation of, hey, you're not playing once a week. Do you need to be stepped back to every other week? Do you need to be stepped back to monthly? Are you guys still interested in being a crew? Because we also do want to make sure that if we do have crews, that they are people who do still want to play together and are continuing to play together. In a situation like what Hobo had brought up with, our Factorio game, if we said that we were going to play every Saturday from 11:30 to 12:30, which that would never happen, and when would we ever have such a short session? But if we were to say that and then just cancel every session, at some point, as the family staff for that family looking at that crew, I'm going to reach out and say, hey, I see that you guys are canceling like every single session. What's going on? But moreover, if we're more of a dynamic crew that we are just putting in when we do play, as long as I'm seeing like at least every couple weeks we're still putting in a session, I know that they're still going. I know that it's still working. They just don't always have every single weekend available to do it. Mm.
I don't have anything.